Picture this: a sleek Manhattan condo tower where the rich and powerful live in luxury. But on one freezing November night, a stench creeps through the hallways, hinting at a secret so dark it'll send chills down your spine. A suitcase, a body, and a web of lies. Welcome to a case that shocked New York City. This is Family Crime Files, and today we're diving into the Suitcase murder, a Manhattan mystery. Stick around to unravel the truth behind a crime that's as twisted as it is tragic. Before we jump in, tell us where you're tuning in from. Drop it in the comments below. And if this story grabs you, make sure you're subscribed to Family Crime Files, because tomorrow we've got something extra special waiting for you. Oh, and if you're already hooked, hit that like button to let us know. On a freezing November night in 2016, a foul odor began creeping through the hallways of a luxury condo tower in Manhattan's Upper East Side. The building, with its marble lobby and rooftop lounge, was home to New York's elite. At first, residents thought the smell was just a clogged vent or a trash chute issue, nothing out of the ordinary for a high-rise. But as the stench grew stronger, sharper, almost suffocating, one tenant couldn't ignore it anymore. They called the building manager, expecting a quick fix. No one could have predicted that the door to apartment 1704 would swing open to reveal a nightmare, a crime that would grip the city and dominate headlines. The NYPD received the call around 10 p.m. Detectives from the 19th Precinct, along with a crime scene unit, arrived swiftly, their radios crackling with urgency. They carried forensic kits and a growing sense of dread. As the door to 1704 was pried open, a wave of putrid air hit them like a punch. A young officer instinctively covered his mouth, gagging. In the dim glow of the balcony, under the faint flicker of city lights, a black suitcase sat quietly, as if waiting for someone to claim it. It was a standard travel bag, the kind you'd see at any airport. But when a detective knelt down and unzipped it, the sight inside was anything but ordinary. Crammed into the tight space was the body of a woman, her limbs twisted unnaturally, her skin showing the first signs of decay. The investigation into the Suitcase murder kicked off with a crime scene that seemed straightforward but was anything but. Apartment 1704, where Emily Carter's body was found, was sealed off by the NYPD that same night. The condo's balcony, now a grim stage under police floodlights, became the focal point. Leading the forensic team was Dr. Laura Nguyen, a seasoned medical examiner known for her sharp eye. Her initial examination of Emily's body, still curled inside the suitcase, painted a chilling picture. The results were grim. Emily had been dead for about 5 to 7 days before discovery. The cause of death was strangulation. Deep bruises marked her neck, with fainter ones on her arms. Oddly, there were no clear signs of a fierce struggle. This led detectives to suspect Emily had been caught off guard or subdued before the attack. The suitcase itself, a standard black travel bag, showed no signs of damage or forced entry. Inside, Emily's body was contorted, knees bent, arms pressed tightly against her chest. It was clear the killer had used significant force to cram her into such a confined space. But one detail puzzled the team. The suitcase was left on the balcony, where the stench could easily give it away. Why didn't the killer move it somewhere less obvious? This question gnawed at the investigators as they combed the apartment for answers. The condo was eerily pristine, almost too clean. The hardwood floors gleamed, the kitchen counters sparkled, and the bathroom was spotless. No fingerprints or bloodstains jumped out at first glance. But Detective Michael Brooks, a veteran with a knack for spotting traces, noticed something on the balcony's concrete edge. A faint scratch, as if the suitcase had been dragged across it. This tiny mark was the first hint that the killer might have moved the bag from another spot in the apartment. The team widened their search. Using UV lights, they scanned for traces invisible to the naked eye. In the bathroom, a breakthrough. A small blood stain glowed faintly in the grout near the drain. It had been wiped away, but not well enough to erase its chemical signature. A sample was rushed to the NYPD crime lab where DNA analysis confirmed it belonged to Emily Carter. This suggested the bathroom was either the murder scene or where the killer had handled her body. The detectives pressed on, hunting for more evidence. In the kitchen trash can, they found a crumpled rubber glove stuffed deep inside. The glove bore traces of talcum powder, common in medical or cleaning supplies, but no fingerprints were found inside. The killer had been careful. Yet on the glove's surface, a single short hair was discovered. Lab analysis revealed it didn't belong to Emily. It came from another woman. This was a game changer, but it raised a new question. Was the killer female, or had the hair ended up there by chance during the cover-up? As the evidence piled up, the spotlight turned to James Carter, Emily's husband. James claimed he'd been on a business trip in Chicago for the past week, nowhere near New York when the murder occurred. The NYPD checked his alibi. Flight records and hotel receipts confirmed he'd been in Chicago. But something about James didn't sit right with Captain Robert Hayes, the lead investigator. His gut told him there was more to this polished banker than met the eye. Captain Robert Hayes, leading the NYPD's investigation into Emily Carter's murder, couldn't shake his unease about James Carter. James's alibi checked out. Flight records and hotel receipts placed him in Chicago during the week of the crime, but his demeanor raised red flags. When informed of his wife's death, James answered questions with a calm, almost robotic precision, showing little grief. He repeatedly insisted he knew nothing about the murder, but his detachment made Hayes suspicious. Was James hiding something, or was he just a man in shock? To dig deeper into James and Emily's relationship, detectives scoured the couple's apartment for personal clues. In a nightstand drawer, they found Emily's phone, its screen still lit with unread notifications. Among them was a text she'd sent to James the night before she vanished. "You're with her again, aren't you? I can't take this anymore." The message went unanswered. Further searches revealed texts between Emily and a close friend, where she confided her fears that James was cheating. These messages were a bombshell, pointing to jealousy or marital strife as a possible motive. The team now had a lead to follow, but they needed more than texts to crack the case. The detectives turned to the building's security footage. At around 2 a.m. on November 8th, a grainy video captured a figure in a hooded jacket dragging a black suitcase down the 17th floor hallway. The person moved quickly, avoiding the camera's gaze, but their height and slender build suggested they could be a woman, or a small-framed man. The suitcase was pulled into the elevator, but no footage showed it leaving the building. This backed the theory that the killer had left it on the balcony right after the murder. Another clue surfaced in the apartment, a nearly empty bottle of Dawn dish soap tucked under the kitchen sink. Emily rarely washed dishes by hand. The condo had a dishwasher. So why was the bottle almost gone? Chemical analysis confirmed traces of the same soap on the bathroom floor, suggesting the killer had used it to scrub away blood or bodily fluids. The cleanup was methodical, but not flawless, leaving just enough for the police to find. Outside the building, a sanitation worker reported a strange find on November 6th. A trash bag near the condo's dumpster containing a black jacket and a pair of women's size 6 sneakers. The jacket had a small blood stain on the sleeve, and DNA testing confirmed the blood was Emily's. The sneakers, too, hinted at a female killer with small feet. These scattered clues were starting to form a picture of a careful but imperfect perpetrator. The investigation widened to Emily and James's social circle. Detectives learned James had been in frequent contact with Jessica Lee, a 27-year-old financial analyst at his Wall Street firm. Jessica was young, attractive, and known for her carefree lifestyle. James's phone records showed intimate texts and hotel meetups with her in New York just days before the murder. Could Jessica be the her in Emily's desperate text? Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So, if you're enjoying it, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. And if you're as shocked by this twist as we were, drop a like, share this video with your friends, and comment below. Do you think Jessica is the killer, or is James hiding something bigger? Was Jessica involved in Emily's death, or was she just the spark that ignited a deeper conflict between husband and wife? Detectives decided to bring her in for questioning, focusing on hard evidence rather than her words. A search of Jessica's Brooklyn apartment uncovered a handkerchief with a faint bloodstain, eerily similar to Emily's blood. But DNA from a hair on the handkerchief didn't match the hair found on the rubber glove back at the crime scene. This twist muddied the waters. Could there be more than one person involved, or was the killer planting red herrings? On November 28th, nearly 3 weeks into the Suitcase murder investigation, the NYPD hit what felt like a dead end. The evidence, bloodstains, a rubber glove, a mysterious hair, painted a vivid picture but failed to pinpoint a killer. James Carter, Emily's husband, had a solid alibi in Chicago, temporarily ruling him out. Jessica Lee, his colleague and suspected mistress, was linked to the marital drama but lacked a direct tie to the crime scene. The case was slipping through the detective's fingers. But Detective Michael Brooks wasn't ready to give up. On a hunch, he ordered one last sweep of apartment 1704. As he stepped onto the balcony where the suitcase had been found, something caught his eye. A detail missed in the chaos of the initial search. Wedged in a tiny crack in the concrete near the scratch mark was a small nail about an inch long. It looked like construction debris at first, a remnant from the condo's build. But when Brooks examined it closely, he saw a faint reddish-brown stain on its tip, possibly dried blood. The nail was bagged and rushed to the NYPD crime lab. The results were staggering. The blood belonged to Emily Carter. Even more shocking, a microscopic flake of skin on the nail contained DNA from another woman. Not James, not Jessica, but someone entirely new to the investigation. Further analysis confirmed this DNA matched the hair found on the rubber glove back in the apartment. For the first time, the police had a solid link between an unknown woman and the crime scene. But where had the nail come from, and how did it end up carrying both Emily's blood and the killer's DNA? The team theorized the nail might have been dropped during the frantic effort to move the suitcase. The blood and skin suggested the killer had grazed their hand, perhaps while dragging the bag across the balcony's edge. More intriguing, the nail wasn't ordinary. It had a flat head with a small engraved symbol, typical of high-end furniture fittings. The NYPD launched a new line of inquiry, focusing on the nail's origin. They contacted hardware and furniture suppliers across New York, sending photos of the nail for identification. Days later, a Brooklyn-based importer confirmed it was used in custom wardrobes from a high-end Italian designer, often installed in luxury condos like the one on the Upper East Side. The supplier provided a client list from the past 2 years, and one name stood out: Sarah Mitchell, a 30-year-old interior designer based in New York. Sarah wasn't a stranger to the case. She'd been mentioned early on as a friend of Jessica Lee, but dismissed due to no apparent connection to Emily or James. Now, the nail changed everything. Digging deeper, detectives uncovered that Sarah had worked with James on a redesign project for his Wall Street firm's offices. Phone records also showed frequent texts between Sarah and Jessica, some hinting at a tangled relationship involving James. The pieces were falling into place, but the NYPD played it smart. Instead of hauling Sarah in, they quietly searched her Brooklyn apartment, about 6 miles from the crime scene. Inside, they found a custom Italian wardrobe matching the supplier's description. When they dismantled part of it, they discovered nails identical to the one from the balcony, some still coated with assembly glue. More damning, a UV scan revealed a faint blood stain on the floor near the wardrobe. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Sarah Mitchell. This evidence fueled a bold theory. Sarah Mitchell was the killer, driven by a hidden connection to James Carter. To test it, detectives pulled Sarah's phone records. On the night of November 4th, she'd sent James a cryptic text. "She doesn't deserve you. I'll take care of everything." The message, though vague, was the first sign Sarah had a motive to act against Emily. The team circled back to the jacket and sneakers found in the dumpster. Fiber analysis linked the jacket to one in Sarah's closet, and a hair inside the size 6 sneakers matched her DNA. The noose was tightening, but the most chilling evidence came from security footage near Sarah's Brooklyn apartment. Early on November 5th, a woman in a hooded jacket was seen dragging a black suitcase into a taxi. Her build and movements mirrored the figure from the condo's cameras. By tracking the taxi's license plate, detectives confirmed it had stopped at the Upper East Side condo for about 10 minutes before returning to Brooklyn. The driver recalled a young female passenger but offered no further details. The final nail in the coffin came from Sarah's apartment, a roll of industrial duct tape hidden in a toolbox. Chemical analysis showed it matched the tape used to bind Emily's wrists inside the suitcase used to restrain her before her death. This was the smoking gun tying Sarah directly to the murder. With an airtight case, the NYPD decided to bring Sarah Mitchell in on December 1st. To avoid spooking her, they invited her to the precinct under the pretense of assisting with questions about James. Sarah walked in unaware that she was stepping into a carefully laid trap. On December 1st, the NYPD set their trap for Sarah Mitchell. To keep her off guard, they invited her to the 19th precinct under the guise of helping with questions about James Carter. Sarah, unaware of the noose tightening around her, agreed to come in. As she stepped into the interrogation room, she had no idea the evidence was stacked against her. Captain Robert Hayes, with his calm but razor-sharp demeanor, led the questioning. Instead of diving straight into accusations, he asked Sarah about her ties to James and Jessica Lee. Sarah answered confidently, claiming she was just Jessica's friend and had worked with James on a Wall Street office redesign. But when Hayes slid the small nail across the table, paired with a photo of its blood and skin traces, Sarah's composure cracked. Her eyes betrayed a flicker of panic. The detectives pressed harder, laying out the evidence piece by piece: the hair on the rubber glove, the blood stain in her Brooklyn apartment, the jacket and sneakers from the dumpster, the roll of duct tape. Each item came with DNA results tying it directly to Sarah. They showed grainy security footage of a hooded figure, eerily similar to her build, dragging a suitcase into the Upper East Side condo. Sarah grew flustered, insisting it was all coincidence, that she knew nothing about the murder. But the pressure mounted when Hayes revealed her text to James. "She doesn't deserve you. I'll take care of everything." Sarah tried to brush it off as an impulsive outburst, unrelated to the crime. The detectives weren't buying it. They dropped their final card: phone location data placing Sarah near the condo on the night of November 4th, exactly when the murder occurred. Cornered, Sarah had nowhere left to run. Under the weight of the evidence, she broke. Her confession spilled out, raw and unfiltered. "I've loved James for years," Sarah began, her voice trembling. "I met him in the spring of 2015 when my design firm was hired to revamp his bank's offices. James was different, charming, ambitious, magnetic. He wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. During our meetings, I caught him watching me, not just sizing me up, but like he saw something deeper. At first, it was all business, but our talks stretched longer than they should have. One night, after the team left, James asked me to grab coffee to discuss ideas. I said yes, thinking nothing of it. Over coffee, he opened up about his life, his stress, his dreams. He wanted to leave New York for somewhere quieter, but felt trapped by the city's grind. He mentioned his wife, Emily, but always in passing, like she was just a duty he carried. I didn't mean to wreck their marriage. I swore I'd never be that woman, but feelings don't listen to reason. One night, after wrapping the project, James invited me to drinks with the team. We all had too much, and when the others left, it was just us. He drove me home, and in a weak moment, he took my hand. I didn't pull away. That's when it started. We began meeting in secret, coffee at first, then dinners at out-of-the-way restaurants where no one knew us. James said he wasn't happy with Emily. She was kind, he admitted, but didn't get his drive, his pressures. With me, he said he could be himself. Those words were like a drug. I started dreaming of a life with him, even though I knew it was impossible. We were careful. James picked places far from their neighborhood. We used Signal for texts, never iMessage, because he said Emily didn't check his phone, but he couldn't risk it. I went along with it. I didn't want to hurt anyone, not even Emily. But deep down I was jealous. She had him, his ring, his home, his life, while I was stuck in the shadows. Every time he left me to go back to her, it felt like abandonment. I started wondering why she got to keep him when he said he loved me. Our affair lasted over a year. There were moments I wanted to end it, to escape the guilt and the hold he had on me. But every time I tried to walk away, James pulled me back with promises. He said he'd leave Emily, that he just needed time to sort things out. He claimed Emily didn't want kids, and that made their marriage feel empty to him. I believed him, or I wanted to. I lived in a fantasy where we could be together, no more hiding. But by fall 2016, things changed. James grew distant. He canceled dates, blaming work. I suspected he was seeing someone else, but he denied it. Then I saw a text from Jessica Lee, his colleague, on his phone when he left it at a cafe. It wasn't explicit, but it was enough to make me burn with jealousy. I confronted him about Jessica, and he laughed it off, saying she was just a coworker. I didn't buy it. I started tracking his schedule, piecing together his movements from careless hints he dropped. I was losing control, but I couldn't stop. Around then, I learned Emily suspected James was cheating. One night at a hotel, he got a text from her asking where he was. He brushed it off, but I saw the tension in his face. He later admitted Emily had found a hotel receipt in his jacket and they'd fought. I was thrilled their marriage was cracking, but terrified she'd find out about me. I became obsessed with Emily. I stalked her social media, poring over her photos, her posts about her perfect life with James. I couldn't understand why she clung to him when he said they had no love left. I hated her, not for anything she did, but because she stood between me and James. I knew I was spiraling, but I wanted him to be mine, completely mine. In early November 2016, it all came to a head. James said he was going to Chicago for work and couldn't see me for a few days. I didn't believe him. I checked his location through a tracking app he'd once shared with me. He wasn't in Chicago. He was at a New York hotel with Jessica. I felt like my world collapsed. I texted him, demanding to know why he lied, but he didn't reply. That's when I decided I had to act. I couldn't let Emily or anyone else take him from me. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So, if you're enjoying it, subscribe to Family Crime Files. It means a lot to us. If Sarah's confession shocked you, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and comment below. Did you see this coming, or was Sarah's obsession a total surprise? Sarah's voice grew unsteady as she recounted the night of the murder. On November 4th, she went to Emily's condo, claiming she wanted to talk about James. The conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument. In a fit of rage, Sarah grabbed Emily's throat and squeezed until she went limp. When Sarah realized Emily was dead, panic set in, but she resolved to cover her tracks. Using duct tape from the apartment, she bound Emily's hands and feet, then stuffed her body into a travel suitcase she found in a closet. To erase evidence, Sarah scrubbed the bathroom with Dawn dish soap, wearing rubber gloves to avoid prints. But while dragging the suitcase to the balcony, a nail from her wardrobe, tucked in her pocket from a recent project, fell out. She also nicked her hand, leaving a trace of skin on the nail. Sarah ditched the jacket and sneakers in a dumpster near the condo, hoping to sever any link to the crime, but she underestimated the NYPD's tenacity. In May 2017, the trial of Sarah Mitchell unfolded at the New York State Supreme Court, drawing intense scrutiny from media and the public. The suitcase murder, as it was dubbed, had gripped the nation, with news channels dissecting every twist and hashtags trending on social media. Sarah, clad in an orange prison jumpsuit, appeared a shadow of the confident interior designer she once was. Her face, pale and drawn, told a story of sleepless nights and crushing guilt. The prosecution presented a damning case, laying out every piece of evidence with surgical precision. The tiny nail from the balcony, stained with Emily Carter's blood and Sarah's DNA, took center stage. The roll of duct tape, the blood-stained jacket, the size 6 sneakers, and the chilling security footage were all displayed before the jury, each item a nail in Sarah's coffin. The NYPD's meticulous investigation report, detailing the bathroom bloodstain and the hair on the rubber glove, left no room for doubt. The lead prosecutor argued that Sarah had acted with cold calculation, not only killing Emily but orchestrating an elaborate cover-up by cramming her body into a suitcase. This was no crime of passion, they declared. Sarah Mitchell planned, executed, and hid her crime with chilling intent. Sarah's defense attorney fought back, claiming she had acted in a moment of emotional collapse driven by blinding jealousy. They pleaded for a lighter sentence, arguing Sarah was a woman consumed by love, not a hardened criminal. But the evidence was overwhelming, and the calculated cleanup, using dish soap, gloves, and a staged balcony dump, painted a picture of premeditation that swayed the jury. After 3 days of deliberation, the verdict came down. Sarah Mitchell was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a decision that echoed through the courtroom. Emily's family, seated in the front row, nodded in quiet approval, their grief tempered by a sense of justice. The public, too, largely supported the ruling, with online forums buzzing about the case's grim lessons. The Suitcase murder wasn't just a tale of violence. It was a stark warning about the destructive power of jealousy and betrayal in relationships. James Carter, though never charged, faced a different kind of judgment. Branded as the catalyst for the tragedy, his infidelity drew fierce criticism from the public. Not long after the trial, he left New York, vanishing from social media and public life, his once promising career in tatters. As the courtroom emptied and the headlines faded, the question lingered. How far can obsession drive someone before it destroys everything?